What's going on, car family? I'm Ben Wayne. Thank you for joining me in another video. Today we're checking out the 2022 Mercedes-Benz EQS 450 Plus. Now, we've taken a brief look at this vehicle before, but that vehicle did not feature the Hyperscreen. So this one obviously has it. So I want to go through that with you guys today and also talk about how this car drives. Now, first thing I want to mention is the EQS 450 Plus is no longer available with the Hyperscreen. If you want the Hyperscreen option, you're going to have to upgrade to the EQS 580, right? So going forward, the EQS 580 is the only one with the Hyperscreen. This is a press vehicle, so sometimes press vehicles come with different functions and features that might not necessarily be available on that particular model. This is the case for this particular vehicle. So if you want the Hyperscreen, again, go ahead and check out the EQS 580. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So the Hyperscreen, it is the talk of the town when it comes to the EQS. And quite frankly, it's huge. I've had a couple people check out this vehicle, and their impression is it looks like something out of Star Trek. And when you look at it, that's exactly what this looks like. So what are we looking at here? So behind the steering wheel, we have a 12.3-inch thin film transistor display. And then in front of the passenger, we have another 12.3-inch display. And then in the center, we have a 17.7-inch display. So 56 inches of glass going throughout the width of the vehicle with 3 independent displays. So starting behind the steering wheel, we have a display that is configurable. So if I click the home button on the steering wheel, it gives me different options. So I can scroll over to an understated theme. And then there you go. Just that simple. Or I can go back home. There's also a sport theme here. Or let's go ahead and see what else. There's a classic theme as well. And then you can also have your navigation displayed in the center there. That is pretty neat. So I think that's an awesome feature. And it just gives you a wide array of flexibility. And of course, you have different menus for your assistance features as well. So let's go back to home and then scroll it back to understated. I really like the understated theme because it has your speed on one side and then a nice looking clock on the other. I think that's pretty cool. Now coming over to the 17.7-inch display here, let me turn on the AC, it's a little hot. As you can see, I have the Apple CarPlay going. It takes advantage of the entire screen space. So if I click on Waze, you'll notice, you'll notice you have a huge display here, right? That is pretty neat, and the display is super responsive as well. Now, let me go back home to the vehicles menu. You have an even larger map system here, so I think that is just absolutely incredible. Now, one thing I noticed, if I click the camera button here, it gives you a 360-degree surround view of the vehicle. But you can also manipulate the screen just like a smartphone to zoom in and out, or you could rotate to see what's around your vehicle. I think that is just absolutely incredible. So I know we just did the C-Class, the new 2022 C-Class 300 or C300 also has this feature, but I just think this is phenomenal. Even if I steer the wheels, it shows what's going on the camera, right? That's attention to detail. This vehicle also features rear wheel steering. Hopefully the camera picks up on it, but it shows the rear wheels moving as well. So I think that's pretty neat. And of course, you do have your different selections here for front-facing camera, rear-facing camera, your side views. So that is just phenomenal. And the resolution is just incredible as well. Let me go back. So let me click home. We also have our different apps that are built in with the car as well. Mercedes Me, weather, such and so on. And of course, this does have the latest iteration of MBUX. So if you want to make a request, just say, hey Mercedes, and then the car will do different features for you. Coming over to comfort menu, you have several different selections for massaging. That's at least, that's quite a few selections. So you have workout backrest, workout cushion, deep workout, deep waves, wave massage, classic massage, activating massage, mobilizing, hot relaxing shoulders, hot relaxing back. Several different choices for your massage abilities. And of course, that is applicable to both seats in the front as well. You also have different adjustments for your seats here. Everything is just simple to use. Of course, your ambient lighting, that is pretty neat. 64 colors available. So I can change it to green. I can change it to red or pink, or I can go into the multicolor menu and select one of these. And as you can see, it gives me various colors throughout the cabin. That is pretty amazing as well. I really like that. And it also changes the color of the instrument cluster as well to coordinate with all the other colors. That is a pretty neat feature. So let's go back to home. And of course, you have your phone, your radio settings, vehicle info. Of course, this is an EV, so it's going to give you your battery percentage and energy flow. Vehicle settings gives you the percentage of brake or accelerator that you're using as well. This is just all really neat. You can go over to the EQ menu. Again, gives you your battery percentages. If you're taking this vehicle on a road trip, it will map out the charging stations along the route for you. So it's all done. All the hard work is done. You can stop, charge for a little bit. It will tell you how efficiently to charge. You don't have to charge to 100%. It'll actually tell you how much you need to charge to complete the journey so you can get the journey done as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So that is a pretty neat feature as well. And of course, back to the Apple CarPlay, which I like to have. I like to take full advantage of that as well. Now, so that's the 12.3-inch display behind the steering wheel, and then the 17.7-inch display in the center console. Now, there's a display in front of the passenger, which the passenger is able to use to get full access to the vehicle settings, whether it's the radio, the comfort settings, the seat settings, various menus. The passenger can even enter the navigation for you. So it allows the passenger to help you if you have your hands full while driving. So that's a pretty neat feature, and that is the purpose of this 12.3-inch display system that sits in front of the passenger. So I think that's all pretty neat, especially the ambient lighting in this vehicle. I even like how the ambient lighting is featured inside the air conditioning vents. That is just amazing attention to detail, especially with the turbine style air conditioning vents as well. So let me go ahead and switch the ambient lighting back to blue. That's my favorite color, so we'll switch it back to there for now. So we've said a lot already with the Hyperscreen. Again, that's a beautiful option. So if your EQS doesn't have the Hyperscreen, what you would get is a nice huge slab of wood here, which is just absolutely gorgeous, especially if you go with that open pore wood. I'll leave an overlay of what that would look like on the previous EQS that we filmed. And then you would have a center console, a more traditional center console touchscreen like you see in the S-Class in the center here. So that also looks nice as well. It really depends on what all you want. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get the EQS 450 Plus out on the street, talk about the exterior and interior details, and see how this ride has been engineered for excellence. All right, so we're cruising in the EQS 450 Plus, and the first thing that is instantaneously noticeable to me is how quiet this vehicle is. And for me, EVs for luxury vehicles, they make a lot of sense because they're really nice and smooth and refined. The acceleration is extremely smooth, and you don't have the vibrations and noise that an internal combustion engine would provide. So in this application, to me, it definitely makes sense. Now, the airmatic suspension in here is providing you with a nice and smooth ride. That's what you would expect of a Mercedes-Benz, right? Especially one that is in the six-figure price range. I believe the base price for this one is around $102,000 as shown. This particular EQS is around $115,000. So you're getting a nice, smooth, and quiet ride. And of course, Mercedes-Benz went out the way to make sure that they insulate the car from exterior noises when it comes to the structure and the glass as well. Now, the overall feel of this vehicle, it's nice and floaty, right? It's a huge car, and it's an extremely heavy car. Your wheelbase is about 126.4 inches. That is 2/10 shorter than what's found on the traditional S-Class. So you're gonna get a nice and smooth ride in this vehicle. Now, let's talk about the power. So what you have in the 450 Plus is a rear synchronous motor that's giving you about 329 horsepower, 417 pound-feet of torque, and that's going to give you a 0 to 60 time of about 5.9 seconds, which isn't bad considering this car's mass. Now it's connected to a single speed transmission, and that acceleration is just buttery smooth. That is just a smooth type of acceleration that only an EV can provide. So obviously we need to talk about charging times, right? So when it comes to a level 2 charger, going from 10 to 100%, you're looking at 11.25 hours. Now, if you step it up to a level 3 charger, you're going from about 10 to 80% in just 31 minutes. So that's relatively quick. I've done it myself while I've had this vehicle. Just plugged it up, went and got myself a snack, scrolled through Instagram, chilled out a little bit, and then next thing you know, I was done. So one thing I must say is, I thought that would be a factor, the sitting and waiting. But what it does is kind of force you to slow down and take a break for yourself. I actually enjoyed pulling up to a nice, quiet charging station, not being bothered and not hearing the hustle and bustle of a traditional gas station, and just mellowing out while the vehicle charged. So that was an enjoyable experience, and it also was a very busy day at work for me, so I needed it. And speaking of charging, the EQS comes with 2 years of complimentary charging as well. So you get 2 years of complimentary 30-minute sessions via Electrify America, and what's not to like about that? So when it comes to looks, so this obviously looks like an electric vehicle, right? I believe form probably follows function. So obviously this vehicle has to be aerodynamically efficient, which could explain the design language on this vehicle. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is the prettiest vehicle I've ever driven. It's not. But where this vehicle truly shines is the interior. This isn't one of the worst looking EVs out. It's not one of the best ones out. I'm just being honest with you guys. But it is something that definitely turns heads. People tend to either love it or they're just like, And I've gotten tons of reactions about this vehicle. People giving me the thumbs up, people stopping what they're doing to look at what it is, and you're going to get all types of reactions in the EQS. It's definitely a head turner. So up front, what we have are Mercedes-Benz digital headlamp system, which is actually able to project images onto the road in front of you. What it does is potentially warn the driver of something that could be hazardous, or if you need to keep caution, it will warn you of that. So that's a pretty neat feature. Now, instead of a traditional grille, what you have is a black panel that features one large Mercedes-Benz star, of course the front-facing camera, and tiny Mercedes-Benz stars throughout. That's interesting to the design. Now, underneath the front part of the vehicle, or the hood, what you're getting is your filter and electronic systems. You can't actually open that for yourself, so there's no storage up front, right? All the storage is located in the rear like a traditional vehicle. Now, coming to the side profile, again, your wheelbase is going to be about 126.4 inches, so it's quite lengthy. And this particular vehicle is fitted with the 20-inch 5-spoke wheels with the inserts that have Mercedes-Benz symbols all over them. So there's no mistaking what this car is. It kind of provides an interesting look to the vehicle as well. Now, one of the neat features, one of the neat tricks that Mercedes-Benz incorporated in this vehicle is allowing it to be able to virtually shorten and lengthen its wheelbase. So how does it do that? Well, Mercedes-Benz has incorporated rear wheel steering in this vehicle up to 10 degrees, and that is something that is truly noticeable. So at low speeds, the rear wheels are going to turn in the opposing phase as the front wheels, and that's going to enhance your overall maneuverability, especially when you're trying to park this bad boy, right? But at higher speeds, the rear wheels will turn in the same phase as the front wheels. That's going to get you additional stability at higher speeds. So it is definitely noticeable. I've been in a parking lot a few times where I've taken sharp turns out of my driveway, and I feel like the rear of the vehicle is coming from behind me, and it's really interesting. But the maneuverability that it provides this large vehicle is just out of this world. So that's pretty neat. Also, with the side profile design, you'll notice that the rear windows kind of have this arched bow shape to them. So it looks like a bow, especially with the silver accents going across the side profile of the vehicle. So that's a pretty unique trait to the EQS. And of course, the roof line, it's more like a hatchback as it tapers to the rear of the vehicle. Now, speaking of the rear, of course, you're getting that bubbly and curvaceous design that's seen throughout the rest of the EQS, right? You have a light band that helps pronounce the width of the vehicle from behind, but if you open up that hatch, you're looking at about 63 cubic feet of storage. So you're getting tons of storage there, especially if you drop the second row seating. Everybody who I've shown this vehicle to has kind of been shocked at the amount of storage that you get. Let me go into the throttle here. So of course, this isn't a sports car in any way, shape, or form, and it's not trying to be a sports sedan either. The aromatic suspension is really floating, right? So you're kind of just floating along, and if you feel a bump, it absorbs it a little bit, but you know, you're not getting that sports sedan setup, and you shouldn't expect that from a car like this. So I'm not going to take any points off for that. It is a nice smooth ride, and it is a car that I would love to take a nice long road trip in. Now, I did notice while I put on the regen braking, there are two levels of it, that the car does something a little weird. It kind of moves the brake pedal for you and makes me feel like I'm chasing the brake pedal just a little bit. I'm not sure why Mercedes-Benz went that direction. It's a little awkward, but you get used to it over time. Like I said, I've had this car for a week, and you know, I've become fairly used to that feedback with the braking. Now, the increased brake recuperation, you could almost just drive this vehicle with one pedal, but it's not enough for you to truly do so. So once you let your foot off the throttle, you do have to kind of put your foot on the brake just a little bit to bring it to a full stop in time if you have a car ahead of you or something like that. So we talked about the power. It's a rear-wheel drive vehicle. Now the 580 is a dual motor setup, so one in the front, one in the back. But in the 450 Plus, you have a rear setup, so your total range is about 350 miles. Now, there have been several reports out there of people getting way more than 350 miles. I believe Road and Track or some article published they got nearly 500 miles. Now, with that, I'll say this. That is quite possible, especially if you have on the regen braking maxed out. But it really depends on how you drive, right? Just like in an internal combustion power plant, a car with that application, it really depends how much you have your foot in on the power. So you can either be efficient as possible, or you could just floor it and enjoy that instantaneous torque. So Mercedes-Benz is claiming 350 miles of range off the top there, and I would say from what I've seen, that seems to be fairly accurate. It's not one of those cars where you cruise a mile and then you notice that your mileage has dropped down by 5 miles. I have not experienced that in this car. So let's talk about where this car truly shines, and that is the interior of this vehicle. First off, like I said, it's extremely quiet in this vehicle, and you're getting a plush ride thanks to that aromatic suspension system, right? But in addition to that, you're getting these plush seats as well. Mercedes-Benz has marketed this as essentially an electric S-Class, even though it has its own new architecture to support the batteries that are placed as low as possible to help your CG. It's its own independent architecture, so it's not just taking an S-Class and throwing electric motors in there. But they have marketed this as essentially as an electric S-Class because of the luxury and the comfortability that it provides, as well as the size. So the seats are extremely plush. I showed you all those massage functions that they have. And of course, there's 3 levels of heating and ventilation as well. That's pretty neat. Look at the details when it comes to the interior. You have this sable brown leather, which goes well with the black leather, and then the polar white exterior. So you have the sable brown leather with stitching going all the way across. You have LED lighting. Look at how nicely the air conditioning vents have been integrated into the design of the car. Coming lower, you have the Hyperscreen that we covered. Now, a lot of people complain about screens in vehicles these days, but for this particular vehicle, I will say that it looks way more integrated into the car's overall design than, let's say, its competition like Tesla. This is integrated way better into the design, so I really like that about this EQS. Coming lower, I do have an open pore wood trim with aluminum flowing lines throughout it. That looks really nice and luxurious. I have 2 cup holders, wireless charging, and USB ports in here as well. Now, you'll notice there's like 2 levels to the center console. There's plenty of storage down here, and I believe additional ports underneath this second level of the center console as well. I think that's a pretty neat design. Let me go into the power. I just love that smooth acceleration. It's not blisteringly quick, but it's just nice and smooth. I really like that. Coming further back, of course, I do have storage here in the center console. Coming over to the steering wheel, it's nice and thick, wrapped in black leather. Feels good in your hands. Controls for your instrument cluster on the left side and controls for your 17.7-inch display system on your right. You also have volume controls there as well in case you don't want to use the touchscreen to increase your volume. So there are multiple ways of controlling different aspects of the vehicle. You can also use MBUX as well. Coming over to the door panels, again covered in that sable brown leather. You have the stitching, you have the ambient lighting, the piano black accents with your seat controls, 3-position memory. The seat controls are just like what you would find in the S-Class, meaning that they are touch capacitive. They're not buttons that actually physically move. You simply apply pressure and it will adjust your seat accordingly. You have door handles that are cold to the touch, more than open pore wood with the beautiful aluminum flowing lines, and of course, plenty of storage in your door pockets there as well. You're also looking at about 41 inches of legroom up front. Now, looking up, of course, you're getting a huge panoramic roof, which is providing plenty of light into this dark themed interior. So I love the natural lighting in this vehicle. Also, the sunroof slides open. I'm not going to demonstrate that because I have my GoPro here. Coming towards the back, plenty of legroom back there, plenty of space, all the creature comforts that you could want. There are options that you can have to even have the ventilated and heated seats back there, and even massage as well. So the rear occupants are not being left out. There is an executive package available back there, and it's just giving you all the luxury that you would expect from an S-Class, which is why Mercedes-Benz has marketed the EQS as so. Overall, this is an extremely smooth ride. My favorite feature is the interior by far. I think the interior is truly gorgeous. When I first reviewed the EQS, I wasn't really excited about the car, right? You know, I didn't really care for a vehicle that screams, hey, I'm an electric vehicle from the exterior. But once I sat in the interior and experienced it for myself, honestly, I've fallen in love with the nice, refined, quiet ride that this car provides. So when it comes to the luxury features and the tranquility that the cabin provides, you know, I'm sold on it. This is quite a nice vehicle, and it's something that you could daily drive. Like I said, we covered the charging. Charging doesn't take long, and you're not charging every single day, and you don't have to top off on the charge either. So that's a non-factor for me, as well as the 2 years of free charging. So lots of benefits to be had here. I still like the traditional S-Class myself, but if you're into EVs and want something that is truly luxury, I think that currently, when it comes to a mass-produced luxury EV, this one has the best interior right now that I've seen personally. I mean, it truly has everything that you want, and a quiet and spacious cabin to boot. So you guys let me know what you think about this one in the comment section. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And until next time, I'm Ben Wayne, the automotive reviewer that YouTube deserves.